Friday, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone who is still tuned in and waiting. I appreciate everyone's patience. I had some technical difficulties here, but that's okay. Hey, it's sunny outside in Columbus, Ohio. It cannot be a bad day here. So welcome, everyone, to the Diverse Professionals Network. Thank you all for joining me and our special guest, Jalauna Phillips. Give it up for Jalauna Phillips. Thank you. Man, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. It's been a year too, and I am so excited to get into what we have today because you're incredible. So I just want to say that, and even just seeing you grow up and seeing all the things you've been able to accomplish, I'm impressed, and I cannot be more proud of you for going through everything you've been through, for not giving up, and then to be able to sit here today to say you published a book. Man, that's incredible. That's incredible. So let me just real quick, I want to tell everyone just what we're doing here at the Diverse Professionals Network. We're creating a network where people can discover and support minority businesses, entrepreneurs, and leaders in the community. We're doing this through live podcasts and in-person networking events, because we believe that diversity unlocks innovation. So join the network today to ensure that you are invited to all of the upcoming events and build relationships with other diverse professionals in the network. Also, if you've been enjoying this podcast series, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button below. Lastly, there will be an audience Q&A towards the end, so be thinking of a question to submit to ask Jalauna later. Without further ado, everyone welcome Jalauna Phillips.
Hi, guys.
Man, it's been awesome. So you were born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, and I kind of want to set the stage to everyone how we met. Your brother is my best friend. And I will tell you, yeah, he's your best friend too. Oh, he's awesome. And just, I love your family as far as they're so welcoming and so inviting. And I always tell everyone that you guys are my second family. Mm-hmm. And so I've been enjoying just being able to go over to your house on Sundays and celebrate that. And what I've been most impressed about is to go from, I felt like we really pretty got close when your freshman year of high school, my senior year of high school. And then you just you took off and blossomed, and next thing I know, you're talking about writing a book. And I'm like, no way, you're writing a book. And then next thing you know, you published a book. So that's incredible. So talk to me a little bit about what your journey has been like so far. How did you even get the idea to start a book? And talk to me about what that journey has been like from freshman year of high school to where we are today.
Yeah, so actually before high school, in 8th grade, I went to Columbus North International, and there they had a really great writing program, and I was really involved with the poetry and just like the writing courses that we had, and then transferring that into high school. The English teachers at Worthington Christian are amazing, and they really helped develop my writing, not even just like how well I wrote, but really just like my passion for writing. And so I think it was around junior year that I started writing blog posts. And it was really random. I think I was sitting in a class and I was like, you know what, I can't focus right now. Let me just type what I'm feeling. And from that, I just started writing post after post. And into college, my freshman year at Newark, I just started writing more and more. And then I think it was last year when I realized I was on my 10th blog post, I was like, wow, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually I have a collection of blog posts. And from that, having my own devotionals and seeing how people wrote those and thinking, shoot, I know people really are listening to what I'm saying, and I want to provide something for them that's not just, they don't have to go to the internet every single time. There's something tangible in their hands that they can look. And I think from all of that, this came about. Here we are.
Here we are today. That's incredible. So you had a passion for writing, and that has kind of been your outlet as far as kind of being able to just have a creative outlet to be able to process what's going on. And especially what we went through last year, through the pandemic. And usually I'm a social person, so my outlets were just hanging around with people, and but much like yourself, I kind of found just this incredible creative process when you're writing and putting your thoughts and feelings and emotions down. So really, how did you kind of think, like, how did you get started? Like, you just started writing, and, you know, next thing you know, you just have 10 blogs, and then you got to a book. So, like, kind of, as someone like myself, writing a book is just very daunting. It's a daunting task. And it's like, okay, you know, how did you, what advice would you give to someone to say, hey, you know, start small, or here's how you start a blog? What did you use to kind of start that process?
I think journaling was the first step of just getting it all out, because I have this shopping cart analogy with my mom of, like, when I go to Target, I'm always like, okay, I have this one thing that I'm going to buy, and I might, like, browse around, and then, like, by the time I get to self-checkout, I'm, like, at $130, and I did not plan on this. So I think that kind of translates into my writing with, like, within the week, by the end of the week, if I don't journal, if I don't write, I find myself, like, with all this stuff in my cart, and I'm like, I really need to just get this out. So I think journaling was and is, like, the first step of just, like, learning how to just release. And I think that any future authors just get it out. I think that's always just the first step. It's okay if it's a mess. It's okay if it's sloppy. It's okay if you have any, like, grammatical errors. Just get it out. And then from there, you can start to revise and kind of refine what you want to say and what you want people to hear.
Right. I love that. Did you ever come into a place where you struggled with perfectionism, and how that kind of, you know, you know what I mean? Like, right. So how did you get over the, you know, that perfectionist inside of you, and because that's really, that prevents us from really doing great things, because we in our heads we want it to be perfect. And we wanted to, you know, especially for putting it out there. And I know we talked about how vulnerable it is to really put your journal is very, very personal. And a lot of people, much like myself, I don't know if I want everyone to know what's going on inside. So how did you kind of, two things, overcome that perfectionist inside of you, and then overcome, you know, being okay with being vulnerable with people?
So for the first question, I think there are 3 steps that I've had to kind of deal with. I think first is fear of it. It's broad, but, like, just being scared that you're not good enough, scared that you're going to say the wrong thing, scared that people are not going to listen to you. And then from that fear comes doubt. And then in that doubt, you question, like, yourself of, like, am I good enough? Like, are people going to listen to me? And it's really scary, because it's like, if I can't do this for myself, then, like, how can I inspire other people to do it for themselves? And I think from that doubt comes settlement. I don't know if that's the word, but, like, I just feel like I got to a point where I just settled for whatever I could, just because, like, I was so scared and I was so deep in that doubt that I was like, you know what, I'll just stay here. I'll just be okay with this. But I think once you get over that fear, that doubt, that, like, really just the fear of not being good enough, and the fear, like I said, fear is broad. It's just getting over fear in general is, like, that was just one of the things that, like, I struggled with. And even, like, still now, of just, like, even, like, coming on this podcast, like, oh my God, like, what if I screw up? What if I say something wrong? And it's just like, you got to do it anyway. Yeah. And then your second question, I kind of forgot.
No, it's okay. Being vulnerable. Like, how did you, you know, it's scary being vulnerable. And we talked, I know, on the last podcast with Jared Barnes, we talked about a lot of people are okay with doing that 80% and giving 80% effort. And it's really scary, really vulnerable when you go 100% or when you put your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, your blogs, things that are so personal to you, putting it out there for everyone to read. I mean, and like for me, when I was growing up, we in the Japanese culture, we show no weakness to our enemies, and oftentimes that vulnerability is looked at as weakness. And so how did you like get over, like, hey, I'm gonna be vulnerable, and get rid of that mentality as far as, like, being vulnerable equals being weak, because that's not what being vulnerable is. Actually being strong, and like you talk about being strong in that self-belief, right? So how did you kind of get over that, and what have you seen, what has been the response from you showing that vulnerability?
I think it definitely started at home. I would say that the vulnerability is weakness is also present in the Black community for sure, especially within the men. Like, I think I saw my dad cry for the first time. Like, he was the first, like, man that I saw cry. And I think that was what unlocked, like, that freedom to be vulnerable. Like, seeing my dad, seeing my mom, seeing my siblings, like, seeing them be weak was not even weak, but just, like, I mean, I think weakness, it can go hand in hand. Like, being vulnerable is not being weak, but, you know, being weak is, like, I don't know how to.
I know what you're saying. We know what you're saying.
Seeing them being vulnerable and just like express their emotions and really just show who they are really allowed me to like do that for myself. And I think translating that into like my friends and the people around me, just being vulnerable with them kind of was like, okay, like what I'm going through is helping them, and what I'm going through is like is giving them hope and giving them assurance that like they're not alone. So I'm like, if me being vulnerable and sticking my neck out and being completely open is liberating somebody else, then like why not? You know, like there is no, how do I say this? Like like I've never experienced any bad thing from being vulnerable. You know, like it might be a little scary, it might be a little nerve-wracking at first, but at the end of the day, I never go home like, shoot, like I probably shouldn't have told them that. I probably shouldn't have like shared that part of my story, because at the end of the day, like it did happen to me. Yeah. And so I had to live through it. And if me talking about it helps somebody else, then like
I love that. And it's being real with your emotions. Yeah. You know, man, that's just such a difficult thing. And I think like, and I talk about it a lot. It's evident in the Japanese culture too. You know, show no signs of weakness. But what we've kind of gotten mixed up is showing emotions equals weakness. And that's what I think we're kind of getting at. It's okay to show emotion. I will be the first person to tell you if I walk into church, I'm crying. You know what I mean? Like tears are coming. Or, you know, if I'm sad, you know, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel those emotions and to feel those things and to naturally cry. But, and like you talk about, as a man and as society looks at you as a man, and from that old kind of mentality, like, oh, if you cry, you're weak, you know, or if you cry, you know, you're not strong. And someone is going to be able to get you. And so I think that's one thing that I've really learned about. It's okay to show those signs of vulnerability, and it's actually the power that is seen in doing so, and the power of your story. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of get mixed up, is they have that self-doubt that your story is not going to impact somebody else's life. Or maybe your story, what you've been through, no one else has been through that. Or, you know, it's not going to have that good of an impact, but rather it's the opposite. When you are vulnerable and like, hey, listen, I'm struggling and this was hard for me and I'm going through depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. And you put it out there. Oftentimes the response is, I'm going through that too. Yeah. And it's like, and I love how the symbol of scars, right? You know, you hear that the scars, there's more power in the story of scars than there is in the story of smooth skin, because it shows that you healed. That's good. And people can see like, hey, every scar that you see on your body has a story. That's good. And people can say, hey, what happened there? And then you have a choice. You can say, nothing. It's just, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm healed now. Or you can say, hey, man, that was a tough journey. And someone can be like, wow, I'm going through that right now. And so it's just that they can relate to that. So, and you also kind of talked a little bit about when you wrote your first blog post, and you were the strong friend, and you were supporting friends that struggle with depression and suicide. Yeah. Kind of, and then you also then talked about, then you kind of became that as well. So how did you... One, what advice would you give to those who are that strong friend, to those who are dealing with depression, anxiety, suicide? Because that's real in this day and age. That is so real, especially after this pandemic year. And so what would you, how would you advise those people to, one, continue being that strong friend, and two, not experience burnout, and then, and then take on the same feelings and emotions and same mentality? How do you get outside of that and still be refreshed? Yeah.
So I should have brought my dad in on this podcast, because he was the one who told me that it's not my responsibility to carry other people's problems. Like, as a Christian, as a mediator like Christ was, we are called to take those burdens and bring them to the cross. So if I'm supposed to bring my problems to the cross, then like, as a friend, it's my responsibility to help you carry your things to the cross. Like, it's not my responsibility to take those on myself. So for anyone who is like the strong friend, I would advise to find a release for those emotions, for those feelings, for those things that you carry that are not even yours. Because a lot of times, like, yeah, we have our own stuff, but a lot of times we're not even carry our own stuff. So find a way to let that go, to give it, I don't know if you are a Christian, if you're not, whatever your release is, find it and find a way to let that flow from carrying other people's problems to helping them release their problems.
That's good. That's good. I love that. And so so you wrote 10 out of those 10 blogs that you've written, and I know that you talk often about purpose and just this journey that you find that you can release yourself. What is your favorite blog post that you wrote?
Oh my gosh.
I know that's a tough question.
That is so tough. That's hard because I feel like they were all, like I mentioned in the editor's note, like the author's note. It's just like all of these were written like with a heavy heart, and most of them past like midnight, so really in like the midnight feels and everything of just like really just ranting at a blank page. And I feel like they all kind of carry the same weight of just like how like close I hold them, but I don't know. Let me look.
I know it's tough. Yeah, it's okay. Take a look real quick while you're looking. Hey, for those that are watching out there, I know that the chat feature may be disabled right now, but if you want to still leave a comment and question for Jalauna, try to drop a comment on the post. See if you can do it that way. I know we're trying to work through some things here, but still would love for the audience, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, support, anything like that, please drop it in the comments, and thank you for that. But yes.
Okay, so for the sake of the podcast, I guess I would say Shattered Mirrors is my favorite one because it was written like during quarantine, like at the beginning. Like this is one of the ones that I wrote kind of like right before I decided that I wanted to write a book. And I think it really kind of shifted not just like my writing experience, but just like who I am as a person. Like since quarantine, I've been on this really like deep like not even self-improvement, but just like self-reflection. And I feel like since then, I've just really been like doing a lot of internal work, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. And so I know you talk about barriers to overcome. You know, barriers are personal. And so, you know, and you know, even with that blog post and with starting to write a book, we talk often about having to overcome those barriers. So what were the biggest barriers you had to overcome, either personally, because I also tell you, you know, you overcame the trifecta. You're young, Black, and you're female. Yeah. I mean, that's a trifecta of being a minority. You cannot have anything else that you know, is against you. So, and you know, we both know this. You know, we went to WC, and that journey, we had to adapt to survive. You know, and so what kind of barriers did you have to overcome, and what have you found in your life that you have been proud of, that you're like, man, I accomplished something by overcoming that?
Going back to like self-reflection, I would definitely say self was probably one of the biggest barriers, and kind of going back to doubt. Going to a school like Worthington Christian, there was just a lot of self-doubt and a lot of just questioning who I am and like where I fit in this world, where I fit at the school, where I fit just like in society and everything. And I think since then I've kind of had to do some like peeling back of layers of like who I grew up to be, who I was told to be at school, at church, at home, like just peeling back layers and layers. And I think doubt was kind of the one that was one of the hardest to peel back. That was like super glued on because it's like for so long we're told like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to be this, you have to be that. And it's like when you finally make the decision to say, okay, I'm going to be this from myself, to myself. And that was probably one of the like biggest awakenings I've had. But it's just like, I think that really transpired with the book because there was a moment where like I could have done something different, but like I bring back to the settlement thing. Like I just settled and I chose the easier option. I chose the option that was safe, that was comfortable, that probably had the safest outcome. But at the end of the day, if I would have said, you know what, I can be an author, like I can really do this, and I want to do this the right way, that I at least know how, then I think I probably would have taken a different journey. this journey was definitely the best for me at the moment. But I think there was a different option that if I hadn't had that self-doubt, then I probably would have taken. But
yeah. But if it wasn't for that book, you wouldn't have gone through that journey.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And it's all about timing. And I love that the book for you was that journey to discover more about yourself and to not listen to what society tells you because you're young, because you're Black, because you're female, you have to act a certain way, you have to be a certain way, or, you know, we're all created so uniquely, so individual. And I can relate to that myself as far as, for me, that was traveling. Traveling was my journey. If I didn't take those trips to Japan, if I didn't take those trips to Europe or to Southeast Asia, and really spend that alone time, oh my gosh, I spent so much alone time in my thoughts and my feelings, and, you know, and through that I journaled. And every day I journaled what I was experiencing, and so it was helped me able to process that. So that kind of inspired me, like, okay, one day I will write a book too. So at what point did you know and feel confident that, one, you had completed a book, and two, it was good enough to publish?
I still can't believe I wrote a book. It still does not feel real, because I think as a child and like in middle school, when I was taking those like writing courses and everything, I would always say, oh, like, I want to write a book and I'm going to be an author. And I always thought it was going to be, I mean, I still might, I don't know, but I thought it was going to be nonfiction, like a storybook and everything. And then I put my blogs together and I showed my mom. I was like, hey, like, look at this thing that I did. And she was like, Jalauna, like, you wrote a book. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just like a craft. Like, this was just some hangout time, you know? And I think I still struggle with the realization that it actually happened. But like I said, it's those moments of just do it. I think that's when I had the courage to actually like find somebody to help publish and find the tools to make it happen. It's just, there comes a moment where you just have to do it. And I think that was what happened. Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up, that phrase, just do it. Cause I love Nike, you know what I mean? But it's so true. And it wasn't until, and I can relate again to that too, starting this podcast. I experienced the same fears, the same doubts. Yep. I'm not good at doing webinars, podcasts. It's not as effective. I want in-person events. I want to meet and greet people and get value from it. And one of my good friends, Samuel Goodwater, we was working out and he was like, Jordan, just do something. Just do it. And I was like, you know, no, man. And he's like, you're just making excuses. Yeah. And I was like, oh. I had to take a step back. I had to swallow my pride and really be like, all right, I'm going to just do it. If I fail, at least I can say I did it, you know? And I think that's really what separates the movers and shakers and people who talk about their dreams and people who actually, fulfill their dreams is that they just do it. And they don't care what the outcome is. They don't care if they fail. I think there is a high fear of failure. And I really want to understand why that is, because I always tell people there's two things that are constant in life. That is failure and that is change. Those are the two things that are always constant, but those are the two biggest fears that we have, because change inspires growth, or change forces you to grow, right? And change makes you feel uncomfortable. And I tell that state of comfort, right? That I would say is a lot of people's Achilles heel, because, when you're comfortable, you can't make mistakes, or when you're doing what you're always been good at, you can't fail. And so it's really, I always tell people, learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable really helps you inspire that growth, and growth is painful. I will tell everybody, growth is painful. This process, what you went through, was a painful process, and you had to overcome a lot of things. But what got you through not giving up? Like, because we get those lies, we get those senses of doubt, we get those fears all on the daily. So what helped you get through those moments of not giving up and to really just do it? For
me, it was my community. It was my family. Like, it it's just so crazy thinking back of like the little moments, like when I got the first like copy of the book. I was like freaking out because I think I said like the pages were too thin. I don't know, it was just something. And my brother, he came to drop off Zeke, and like I showed him, I was like, yeah, like this is the book and everything, and he was like, Jalauna, like this is a whole book, like this is fine, like this is amazing. And then the same thing like with my dad, I was like, oh, like something's wrong with the cover, or yada yada yada, and he was like, Jalauna, like you wrote a book, like you did this. And then same thing with like my mom and my sister, like they were just there every single moment, every single fear, every single doubt, like they were there to like help talk me down and help walk me off the ledge, like, hey, listen, like you did this. And even if you don't publish, like completely publish it, even if the first one is completely a mess, like you did this and it's great. So I think my family, my friends, they mean the world to me. They made this happen.
Yeah, it is so important to have that support system around you, and to really get people who know you and who understand you, who see the best out of you. You know what I mean? Your family saw the best out of you, even though you may feel like you wake up today and you're just like, I'm not motivated. I'm not good enough. I'm not an author. You know, like all these doubts come in. They can happen at any moment's notice, and we all struggle with it. But to go back and to be honest, like, hey, I'm just not feeling it today, and then that they support you, encourage you, and see the best in you, and it's like, listen, no matter what you do, we'll still love you. We'll still support you no matter what you do, no matter what types of failures you have, no matter what types of struggles that you're dealing with, we're still going to love you. And I think that's such a powerful thing. And I love that you have that in your community. So important. Real quick, we're going to shift gears. We're going to try to start a new session here to get the chats going, because we still want to get the audience Q&A. So we're going to move into that here soon. So again, everyone stay tuned, and we're going to get the live chats and comments going. So please feel free to be thinking of the questions you want to submit. We're going to be doing that right now. Thank you. Stay tuned. We're back live. Thank you all for staying tuned. We wanted to make sure that you guys got a chance to ask all the questions, to comment, to leave your comments, drop comments. That's such an important thing here on our live podcast, is being able to interact as much as possible. Ideally, in a world outside of COVID, these podcasts are in front of a live audience where we can get people to just get up and ask questions and interact and really feed off of that energy. So I can't wait for that day. But for now, thanks to technology, we can get your comments, drop questions down below in the chat. We'd love to field any questions. But as we're kind of waiting for those to kind of come in, one thing I do want to hit on that I love that you said earlier is, and even in our conversations before, is that you've got to do this for you. You can't do this for anybody else. And so that's a hard thing to do. Because, and I can, like I said, relating those things to my experience, I was growing up throughout high school and going into college. I was doing everything to get that validation from my friends, from my family, from my parents, and how that translated into my work, my coworkers, my boss, that I was doing everything to just get, I'm proud of you, or you did a good job. So how did you really make that transition to say, hey, you got to do this for you first? And 'cause not a lot of people recognize that, you know what I mean? So how did you recognize that, and what have you learned through that?
I would say I'm still learning. I think we all have that people pleaser, I don't know what you call it, just type of mentality at points, especially like when you care about the people. I feel like you want to impress them the most. Like strangers, you're like, you know what, I don't care. I can go to the grocery store looking a mess, but I can't even go to like a family dinner without like fixing my hair or just like making sure like I smell good or whatever, just because like I care and I want them to like see me like at my best. But I think being comfortable with your worst and like knowing that like the people who love you are okay with your worst, I think that makes all the difference of like, listen, they love me so much that they're willing to like see me when I'm funky, see me when my hair is a mess, and like still love that. So I think translating that to the book is just like, part of this is my mess. Like part of this is my typos, part of this are my like personal thoughts, part of this are my fears and doubts, but like you're going to see it anyway because like I'm okay with that. And as long as I'm okay with that, whoever sees it, they can like it, they don't have to like it, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so. And I love that. And again, kind of just, I love how much we talk about vulnerability because I don't feel like it's talked about enough, you know, and you said it's worth being vulnerable if someone else finds value. Yeah. And I know we kind of talked about that before, but I love that quote that you said and told me, and I wrote that down, and that's incredible. I love that you said that. And even just loving yourself at your worst. I will tell you this. It's hard to love myself at my worst. I don't like myself when I'm at my worst. I was like, okay, when I'm at my best, when I'm impressing people, when I'm doing great things, it's like, okay, you know, you're on your own cheerleader. But then when you're down in the ruts and you can't get out of it, it's just like, you're like not really feeling it, you know? So what other ways have you seen other people, be able to find that outside of writing? So, you know, for you, everyone's a little bit different. For you, it was writing. For me, it was traveling and writing a little bit. But have you seen anything else that maybe around your friends that you've seen in their life that has really helped them make that transition of, you know, to do this for themselves and to really love themselves at their worst?
I would say I have a lot of examples. I know for my sister one, we've had conversations before of just like accepting each other. Because I think that's what's so cool about having a sister is like best friend, enemy, all in one. But just kind of seeing her journey of, because I don't know if it's something about being the oldest, because I'm the youngest, so I can't relate. But something about being the oldest where you feel more pressure to be perfect because like you're the firstborn. Your parents expect so much out of you. They expect you, maybe not perfection, but like they expect you to like live up to what having a child is like. Yeah. And I feel like my sister might have like, I feel like I might have seen that. And just like talking with her of like, hey, like you making mistakes has allowed me to like know what mistakes not to make, you know? Yeah. So like how this sucks for you, but like you being you and you doing you and making your mistakes and showing up 100% in your mess or in your great days, like it's helpful for me to see that. And so kind of just like seeing that in her life. She's my inspiration. Aww.
Yes, absolutely. And so again, if anyone wants to drop in a comment or question, we're still taking those. We'll probably take those wait around for a little bit. If not, still reach out. Would love to be able to answer. Jalauna has been so kindly willing to answer any questions that kind of come in, and she'll be able to reach out directly to you if you submit a question. So even if it's not on today for the live podcast, if you're watching this at a later date and would love to submit a question, please either email me at jordan.nishizaki@gmail.com. I probably should spell that out for y'all. But again, contact me and I'll get your questions on over to Jalauna. Real quick, I mean, what is your next book?
Oh man. Honestly, I don't know. I've been writing a lot of poetry recently.
Yes, I love. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I love the poetry, especially that you wrote for Black History Month. I thought that was incredible. So you've been writing poetry, so you've been really into that. So maybe a poetry book.
Maybe. I don't know. I've kind of been. I don't know. It's really cool writing because you really see yourself transition, and I feel like poetry is all like you always think like everything has to rhyme and stanzas and all of that, but like really just float. Like I don't know if I can change the definition of poetry, but I feel like it's saying words in like a not in a more creative way, but like in just like a more dancey way, if that makes sense. Like you can in my head, I see like, you know, normal people like walk places or run places, but like the people who dance, like they move differently. And I feel like that's what poetry is. It's like saying words, but like in a more fluid motion. And I feel like that's kind of how my poetry has kind of developed. It's not really everything has to rhyme or everything has to make sense. It's just flowing. Yeah. So I don't know if that's my next book.
Okay.
Maybe the the fiction book that I've been talking about. I don't know. We'll see.
Listen, I'm right on track with you because, again, I after all my travels, I looked back, I was like, no way. I low-key got a book here. And one of two things. I love talking about growth and mentality. So that's one idea. And for me, I have a list of ideas, which is my issue because I have too many of them. But I like to have an outline to say, hey, this is kind of an idea for my next book. And I think it's still being written. I don't know if I'm ever really finished with it. But Niche the Fish, Juju's Adventures.
I'm so excited.
You know?
I'm so excited.
And oh my gosh, I keep telling everybody about that. And my niece, she calls me Juju. So cute. And so I was like, okay, I was going to call it Bubba's Adventures because that's what my nickname was growing up. So one of the two of those. But so on the same track with the little fiction, little kids book, I think that'd be cool to incorporate like my travels within something like that, to be able to be creative in that way. Or even just talk about growth and mentality, or even just travel blogs, you know, one or the two of those. So for me, what advice would you give me about being able to then go publish? Like, because that's what I think, again, I struggle with not being good enough and then I kind of want to bring it to a publisher and be like, hey, this is what I got. It's all throw up kind of on the page, but do you see something? So what kind of advice would you give to me, or is there any publishers that you'd recommend to go to kind of help out with that process?
So two things. It's the publisher's job to have a team that like can put chaos into a book. So trust that the people who are publishing a book are capable of doing what they're doing. Second, I forgot your other question. But I would recommend going to a bookstore, my favorite being the Book Loft in German Village, and just look at how many different books there are. Yeah. Because you think that, what I have to say, people don't want to hear it, or like there's already books about this. But one of the ladies that I was talking to, I have to shout her out on my Instagram or something. I can't remember her name, but when I was talking to her about publishing, she told me, if you have anything written down, you have a book. Yeah. And that's really what slapped me in the face, was like, you know what, you're right. Like, people have ideas listed. People have recipes listed. People have recommendations. Like, they have these journaled or in on like Word on their laptops or anything. Like, if you have anything written down, you have a book. And like going to those bookstores and seeing, okay, there's like 30 books about how fish glow in the dark. I don't know. Like there's so many books, and it's like it's not, you have to know that it's not about how many people read your book, or it's not about if your book is worth being read, you know, because that's what will stop you. It's like, shoot, like, are people going to listen to this? Like, are people going to read this? It's like, do you have something that you want people to hear? Even if it is just one person. Do you have something that you want to say? Really? Do you have something that you personally want to say? And I think that goes back to doing it for you. Once you have something you want to say, go ahead, publish it. Boom. Go ahead.
There you go. Oh, I love that. such good knowledge. Do have one question. Yay. From JPhil016. Can the author read some of your work?
Oh man.
I also have some poetry.
Okay, right. Do you want to hear something from here, or
it's your work.
Stop there.
It's your work.
I don't know. Help me.
You're okay. Do you want to? I really like Black Hands. Black Hands was a good one. You talked about rejection a little bit, and then you also talked about middle of the night and at the same time.
Middle of the night is one of my favorite ones, especially because the other night I did wake up in the middle of the night and the moon was just staring at me. It was perfect. Okay.
Yes.
Throw that down.
All right. This is Middle of the Night by Jalauna Phillips.
Middle of the night. You ever wake up in the middle of the night and it's just you and the moon? Somehow it's made its way directly above your window. in a spot you don't even have to get up or move to see. It's just you and the moon in awe of each other. In the same way the sun wakes up in awe of your brilliance, even he blushes at your colors, your dawning. He wakes up longing for you to wake up with him, radiate with him, paint the sky and watch the day go by. The sun wants to dwell with you all day, every day. So when you wake up in the middle of the night and lock eyes with the moon, you'll smile and rest in the promise that the sun is returning soon.
So good. So good. Yes. Yes. I love it. Yes, you're right. Snaps and claps. Snaps and claps. Man, such good stuff. So I thank you everyone for joining. I thank you, Jalauna, for getting on here.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration. You really are. And I hope that you inspire the next generation of young authors, of Black authors, of female authors. Continue doing your work. Never give up. Continue being you. You're amazing. So, just want to give that to you. So I thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick before we leave here, I do want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Arc Media Services, which they provide exceptional video production services to small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies. If you're interested to learn more, please visit arcmediaservices.com. I want to take a moment to thank the Sycamore Studio. This is, again, such an amazing studio. So if you guys ever get a chance, please check it out. It's here out in Dublin. But if you want to check out the space, please visit thesycamorestudio.com. I also want to give a shout out to SCOME Media. Thank you so much for your production skills and being able to help us out here with our live podcast. Appreciate you and your work. And I want to take a moment to thank the Wilderness Agency. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor and selecting one of our benefits package, please contact me or apply online to the website. And again, next steps, and then I wanted to invite to the next podcast. So buy the book. Buy this book. I Set on Being. It's a workbook. It's an easy read, and it's on sale. Where is it on sale? Where can we buy this book? Your website?
You can find it on my website, iseton.com, or Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Awesome. And then do a little self-reflection. Yeah. Talk a little bit about what you kind of want with self-reflection. I know taking next step into yourself. Tell a little bit people, guide them on that self-reflection journey.
Like I said before, buy a journal, buy a piece of paper, find a scrap piece of paper, find a pencil, and just get your thoughts out. You can tear it up, you can throw it in the trash, you can throw it in the toilet, you can burn it. Just get it out, and from there, I think you'll be set.
Awesome. Thank you. And I do want to invite everyone to our next live podcast. It's going to be March 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern, noon here. It's going to be Joy Cho. She's an owner and pastry chef of Joy Cho Pastry. We're going to be talking about the art and creation of gem cakes. They're amazing. I have yet to have one. I need to have one. Joy, you need to send them my way because they look amazing. Your Instagram is unreal. And she was recently featured in the New York Times.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I know. Amazing. Incredible. She's amazing. So you won't want to miss out. So again, everyone, thank you for joining today. Thank you, Jalauna. Again, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Good weekend.